I would be so nervous to shop for makeup in person. Like, I would go to Target and go down whatever aisle, and as soon as like somebody else came into the aisle, I was like, oh, just shopping for my girlfriend. Like, just like acting like I wasn't just looking at like a Revlon lipstick, and like that attracted the attention of the person even more. Hey y'all, many eons ago, and by that I mean 2-ish months ago, I posted asking, or I guess a poll. I posted a poll on my Instagram, which is at @clove_room, and my YouTube community tab, what videos y'all would like to see most. I got a lot of requests that people would like to see a Q&A and get to know more about little old me. So today this video is all about me, more so than usual. Let's get into it. I have all the questions here. I'm not attaching like the person who asked it, although I personally know most of the people who ask questions. I just didn't do that, so I'm sorry if you wanted credit for asking this. But here we are. I guess I'll give some like very, very basic info because I've kind of stopped doing kind of that rehearsed YouTube intro that we're so used to seeing because one, I did not do any research into this, but I did hear from several creators that intros are out or something, and it's like one of those things where like I didn't really like doing my intro, and I didn't like having to come up with like a rehearsed like, and if you're new here, welcome, my name's Cam, and I guess we'll just do it now.
My name's Cam, and I'm a trans film creator. I love talking about beauty, consumerism, and pop culture, and all the ways those topics intersect. If you enjoy this, like, subscribe.
Which all of that is true, and you should like and subscribe. That would be great. But I don't know. I just didn't like doing it, and then I had unverified information that led me to believe that was the correct choice. So like any good American of 2023, I said that's what I'm doing. But baseline information. My name's Cam. I do identify as non-binary and trans femme. I am 29. I'm in the last year of my 20s. I use they, them pronouns. I try to put my pronouns at the beginning of every video, but yes, they, them pronouns. And let's get into the actual questions now. Where are you from? I am from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky. Growing up, I really hated living in Kentucky, and I very much had a lot of feelings about it, and I still have a lot of feelings. They're a lot more nuanced now. So I live in Kentucky, or no, I don't. I'm from Kentucky, made pit stops in the Carolinas and Chicago, and now I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. And a pet peeve of mine is when people make fun of Southern people or, you know, hillbillies, rednecks, whatever, and also make sweeping judgments about the southeastern part of the United States, which is funny because most of those generalizations and sweeping judgments are about how backwards and close-minded the region is. And then the super open-minded people who live in, you know, California and New York then make very close-minded judgments about an entire region of people. So I have feelings about that. I mean, there were definitely downsides to growing up in Kentucky as a trans person. I also am I'm a preacher's child, a PK, preacher's kid. I grew up around religion. I have thoughts about that too. Not all negative, not all positive, certainly. I don't know. Everything's nuanced, and I don't know. I've learned that over my 29 years of life. It's a lot more helpful to see things as nuanced and finding the gray area in things. Some things are just black and white, good or bad, but I think most things are more nuanced than a lot of people give them the credit for. I think stereotypes and assumptions are kind of brain shortcuts that we take a lot, at least in the United States. And yes, now I live in Atlanta. I really love Atlanta. We've been here, my partner and I have a partner. That's a fun fact. I don't know. My partner and my dog, my beautiful dog, who's sleeping in a little chair right next to me. I do have a dog voice. I know. We've been here like a year and a half at this point. And I love Atlanta. I don't see us leaving anytime soon. What hobbies do you have other than makeup? And then someone else also asked a similar question, hobbies or interests outside of content creation. I have a lot of hobbies and interests outside of content creation because I don't do this that consistently, although I'm trying to change that. Hobbies other than makeup. So yeah, I would definitely put my makeup hobby before content creation as like a hobby or a side gig or anything like that. Again, I'm trying to work toward being more consistent with YouTube at the very least, and I feel like I have a more fully fleshed out idea of what I want my channel to be than I ever did over the course of this year, which is kind of when I really got going on the channel. So that's nice. That's not what the question is. So hobbies, interest outside of content creation and makeup. I recently took up yoga. I talked about that in my last video, but I've been absolutely loving going to hot yoga classes. I actually just re-downloaded the Down Dog app as well. So now I belong to an in-person studio that I try to go to 3 times a week. But there are days when I just don't want to like, one, have to go somewhere, or two, have like a really intense, like, you know, hour-long yoga session. And Down Dog is really nice because you can just like be like, I just want to do 20 minutes of like relaxing yoga or a 30-minute vinyasa flow, whatever. And it like delivers like a sort of customized yoga class to you on your phone. This isn't an ad for Down Dog. I just really like the service. I will say, if you are interested, I'm sure they do a free trial, but then after that, always just like look for a lower rate for the year membership, because I think full price it's 20, or no, full price it's 50, but then all I had to do was go on my computer and go to the website, and they're like, here's 30-40% off, and I only paid $28 for access to the app for the year, which to me is a phenomenal deal. So I do yoga. I play soccer in an adult rec league. That's something new within the past year, 2 years, is getting back into soccer. Played throughout high school. Horrible homophobic, transphobic experience. I fucking hated my high school soccer team. Half of us turned out gay. Don't mind those people. I hated my high school soccer team, and it kind of ruined playing the sport of soccer for most of my life. But now I'm in a more welcoming league. Not perfect, but they do, like, even in the co-ed leagues where you're supposed to have a certain number of non-male teammates on the field, blah, 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 it's a whole thing. They do recognize, like, you know, non-binary players as an identity. They have a league that's exclusively for women and non-binary folks that's inclusive to not all non-binary people. There's some soccer leagues and other athletic things that say it's a women and non-binary league, but really they just mean non-binary people, like the people that we think are women, but we know they don't identify as women, so they're non-binary now. Which is like problematic, because obviously non-binary people can be assigned male at birth, assigned female, can be intersex, blah blah blah. So I appreciate that, and that's made it and just playing soccer again is really, really fun. I am actually pretty athletic, and I love playing sports. So didn't I say that about stereotypes earlier? Didn't I tell y'all not to that you know, those little brain shortcuts don't work out usually? Yeah. And I used to run a good bit. I haven't been running recently since I've been doing yoga a lot, so not really running anymore. I used to be more into it. I might get back into it now that it's cooling down in Atlanta, but I've just been enjoying yoga so much that I think I might just do that, and then soccer some days. Other hobbies. I used to bake a lot. I don't really bake that much now. I kind of want to get back into it, but I haven't really had time. And I think those are my main hobbies and interests. Interest. Gymnastics. I'm a huge fan. And that's opposite of soccer, where I don't do gymnastics. I can't even do a cartwheel. Like, can barely do like a forward roll or whatever. But I absolutely love watching women's artistic gymnastics. So that's, you know, Simone Biles. Trying to think of other people would know. Nastia Liukin was a very famous U.S. gymnast. And the thing about it is, I always loved gymnastics at the Olympics, and then I was like, I can't believe we only get to watch this every 4 years, and it's just one meet, and then it's over. And then I found what's lovingly called the Gymternet, which is kind of like a community on, I guess it's still on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but it's still on Twitter. But on social media, that's just kind of like the diehard gymnastics fans that follow it all throughout the year and don't just follow the Olympics. So by the time you get to the Olympics, the community already knows like all the gymnasts who are going to be in it and if there's controversy about the team and all that. So once I found that, it was through a podcast called Gymnastic, if you're interested in like becoming a more active gymnastics fan. That was incredible because now not only do I follow elite gymnastics like every year, elite is what like a Simone Biles or Jordan Childs or Jade Carey, etc. Those types of athletes do. And so like Olympics, World Championships, U.S. Nationals, things like that. But then also there's NCAA gymnastics, which is like honestly more of like a normal American sports schedule where they compete every week. In elite gymnastics, the gymnasts maybe do like 4 meets a year, like maybe 4 or 5 at the very most. So with college, it's like any other sports team, and you know they're doing gymnastics every week, and it's such a different atmosphere. The gymnastics are really different, and you just get to know a much wider array of gymnasts that way, which is also really fun. So I love gymnastics and I love watching gymnastics. I actually, next year, Olympic trials are in Minneapolis and my friend and I have tickets, so we're gonna go watch Olympic trials and see who from the US team gets picked, and I'm very excited about that. And I've been to a bunch of college meets, which are also fun. I saw Suni Lee's first college meet because it was in North Carolina by where I lived, so I went, and that was my first gymnastics meet IRL. So very into following gymnastics. Oh, and then Bravo. I love Bravo. I love the Real Housewives. I kind of wanted to figure out how to do some Real Housewives content on here. I know not everyone's into it, but I am like an encyclopedia of Bravo and Real Housewives knowledge. So those are my hobbies and interests. What made you the queen that you are? I think the joke to make here is like trauma. So we'll go with trauma and estrogen. A memoir. What's your current job and does it align with your college major? Do you like it? So my current job is I am a barista at a specialty coffee shop here in Atlanta, Georgia. Can't say Atlanta, Georgia without thinking of Nicole Page Brooks from Atlanta, Georgia. Does it align with my college major? Yes, I majored in fine barista. No, I'm kidding. I majored in journalism, and I actually have a graduate degree in public policy. So my career journey is, I mean, probably not that unique, but I think it's unique. I majored in journalism in college, had a lot of internships at like large papers and publications, got a job in journalism after college, and I wasn't like a reporter or photographer. I did production and like specifically print production and copy editing and like the graphic design of the newspaper, news design. And so I did that for 4 years after college at a couple of places. And and I worked really weird and hard hours. I worked from like I think it's technically second or third shift from it switched around, but usually like 3 to 11, like 11 p.m. So that just kind of made it hard to, once I met my partner when I lived in Chicago and all my friends had like normal day jobs, that was kind of hard to live with. And also the thing about journalism is that it's just so unstable and there's not hardly like any room for upward mobility because of the fragile state of the industry and the crumbling state of the industry, to be frank. So especially with what I did print production and design and like prints. Not been doing so hot for like the last decade or two. So I decided to go to graduate school for public policy, and I have a master's in public policy from a pretty good school. And when I was there, I had a lot of mental health issues, and that's when my gender dysphoria really, really showed its ugly head. So I was really, like, honestly, it wasn't even the master's degree, but it's kind of the master's degree, like, really destroyed me. And just that time in my life, like, not to bring the vibe down, but was bad, like not great. And I'm like really proud of myself that I'm like still here, and now I'm in a place where I'm happy. That took a lot of hard work, a lot of personal growth, a lot of strength, and why am I getting all emotional about it? Gross. So I decided I could have gotten a job in policy. I mean, I would like I wasn't having that much luck in the job market, to be frank, in jobs that I was interested in, which I was kind of trying to combine journalism and graphic design with my policy degree. And I hadn't really found anything yet. I was getting interviews, but not like jobs. And I also really struggled with caring. I cared because I needed a job and I needed to start paying bills, obviously. But I had no passion for what I was doing, and I also was very worried about if I was going to be able to be like my full they them trans self wherever I ended up, especially in the policy world. So I made a decision, one, that I just needed to find a job that would hire quick because it was getting a little dire on the financial straits, but two, that I wanted to do something that I would actually really enjoy, and that would also just be a job, like not be something I would have to bring home or like be that tied to, and needed to get hired quick, blah blah blah. So I've always wanted to be a barista. I've always wanted to work in a coffee shop. I just went like straight into what I did in college for my work experience. Surprised because I was like, I'm probably gonna have to start at a Starbucks and then try to get into a specialty coffee shop. And I actually didn't get a job at Starbucks. I had an interview at Starbucks and they ended up passing on me for whatever reason, because that Starbucks is in dire straits. Also, they made me cross a picket, I unknowingly crossed a picket line to do the interview, which my fucking union grandparents are rolling over in their grave. But that's a whole other story. Didn't get the job at Starbucks. Then I got an email because I had applied to this place that I was interested in, but I was like, they're like very talented in coffee there. No way would they hire a newbie. And months after I applied there, like just through their online form or whatnot, I got an email from them and they were like, hey, we're interested in interviewing you. And I did the interview and I somehow got the job. And I've been there ever since. And I really like it. It's not perfect. Some days, I just had a bad day yesterday where it's not a job where I could just if I'm having a bad day, kind of tuck away and do my work, because I have to be front facing, like I'm front of house. So I either have to be making drinks that involves customer interactions if you mess up a drink, or if they somehow don't understand the very basic social tenets of collecting a drink from a bar, or you're doing, like POS. And like some days it's just a lot, but it's probably my favorite job I've ever had. I think I can say that. It has nothing to do with what I did in college or any of my career plans then, but I love doing coffee. Like I love making the drinks. There are days when I actually love working register and talking to people, because most of our customers are really cool. And the coworkers are amazing. The coworkers are really comfortable with they them pronouns, are very open and understanding and all that, and just really cool people that I'm happy to know now. So it's been a really great experience overall. Some days, I'm a little bit negative about it because I can sometimes be negative and I have to pull myself out of that. But I do really like it. It has nothing to do with my college major. Like most of my post-college life, I've been very concerned with moving up wherever I was or getting a job at a better paper publication and all of that. And for the first time in my life, I think because of all of the sort of strife I went in with during my transition and got grad school and all that, it's not that I don't care. I do actively care where my life is going, but maybe it's the yoga now, but I'm very much just if it's meant to be, it'll be. I feel good about the direction I'm going, and I feel like this job is good for me right now. And I don't even know if it is a transition period. But I don't know. I just really like being a barista. It's a job I could do also part-time if I wanted to, if the channel ever took off, or I would really love to try to find a graphic designer, creative services gig. And I would love for that to be part-time, because I just value the work I do at the coffee shop, which maybe sounds a little weird or cringy, but I do value the work I do there. I value the work, like I value what I get out of being there. And then I put this after because I thought it made sense with me saying I was a barista. Current fave coffee order, do you like to try different drinks and don't have a usual? Kind of both. Since I am a barista, we get, chef drinks and also like are the ones who make the drinks. So I like to play around definitely and make some sort of fun drinks for like shift drinks. Our menu's pretty set, and we don't, unlike a lot of like a Starbucks or even other specialty coffee shops, we really don't offer that many customizations. But right now I've been really enjoying a dirty chai, which is a chai latte with espresso in it, adding lavender and vanilla simple syrups to it. That's been really good. But honestly, like my very basic drink most days is just an Americano with a little bit of oat milk. How would you describe your ideal aesthetic? I don't know that I have an ideal aesthetic. I talked about this before in my Instagram stories, but I feel with being in like a transitory time where I'm really, I'm newish to hormones still within my first year, still navigating being trans. Like, I sometimes don't know who I am because I haven't been allowed to be myself most of my life. So actually figuring out like, hey, you want everything to be like lavender purple, and you are sometimes into basic shit at Target that you didn't think you would ever be able to wear, which is cool, but like confusing because you think you know yourself. And that happens to non-trans people too, obviously. You change as life goes on, but I'm very much in like a whole self-discovery mode and almost feeling like I'm a different person some days. So ideal aesthetic, I'm a little basic with like a colorful twist. I don't know. I like things to be not too modern. I like things to be lived in. I do love pops of color, or just not even pops, just like color. I don't like modern, heartless, sharp, harsh design for the most part. But I'm also just like a fan of like extremes. So I love it when somebody like takes it all the way with something. And I love like mixing and matching things. I'm not like one thing. I'm multifaceted. So all of that's my aesthetic. Maybe my aesthetic is that I don't have one. I don't know. What was your entry into beauty/makeup like? So it's actually kind of funny. Is it that funny? It's not that funny. It's so funny, actually. It's not funny. My friend was really into Kathleen Lights. And like, I think she was just into beauty YouTube, but she was really, really into Kathleen Lights in 2014, 2015 when I was in college. And I started watching Kathleen Lights maybe 2015, maybe 2016 because of her, because she loved her so much. And I never even really, I'd only gotten on YouTube to watch like music videos or like super viral videos or like, like clips from the news. I don't know. Not like a YouTuber whose job it is to make content on YouTube. That wasn't like some like YouTube content wasn't something that was like a regular part of my life then. So I started watching Kathleen's channel, found her very funny, found her presence very comforting. I know she's a little bit controversial. She's definitely done some things I don't agree with. I still think she's very funny and sweet. But anyway, I don't really watch her content anymore, to be honest. And started watching her, and I just loved the content before I loved the beauty, if you will. Like, I knew nothing about makeup. For the first few months, maybe even a year, I was like, what's the difference between a BB cream and a foundation? And a concealer? Where does blush go? What's bronzer? What's contour? Are contour and bronzer different? So for that first year, I only really watched her. I like I was Kathleen Lights only for like months. Like I was like, that's the only beauty YouTuber I watch. And then I started watching like, gosh, I'm trying to think of who I watched early on. It was like Tati. I was really into Tati. Unfortunately, I watched a few Jeffree Star videos. But then to my credit, I Googled Jeffree Star. And there was like a Reddit post. But I mean, I'm sure it still exists. But back then, there was like a list of all the crap he had done up to that point. And I was like, oh my God. Like, he should be deplatformed. So I stopped watching I never watched Game of Thrones. Stopped watching Jeffrey. Very quickly, actually, after I learned about that. Who else? I mean, Jessica Braun was probably around. Taylor Wynn. Then she was known as the Taylor. I honestly miss that name because that name was just like so ridiculous. AIM screen name vibes. Because it was like THA Taylor. Like, I don't know. It was very funny to me. Who else? I mean, I wasn't really into like people. I mean, I don't even know if they like if Hannah Louise Poston or Kaki. Maybe Lauren May was still was making content back then, and maybe I watched her. Jackie Aina, I was really into Jackie Aina. Can't really think of that many other people. Do y'all remember the icon that was Stephanie Nicole? Homeless Tom mentioned her in a video like maybe even like a month or two ago. But I was like, oh my god, she was that bitch. Like Stephanie Nicole was that bitch. That video she did about Morphe, about like Jeffrey, like Beauty Guru Hall of Fame. So like it probably took like a few months before I even really got into makeup. And like was like I should put makeup on my face because my brain was so binary of just being like, well, I'm gay and I'm not a drag artist because back then I just identified as a cis gay man. And I just identified as a cis gay man. Basic. I kid. If you're a cis gay man, you're so valid. But what was I saying? Oh, so I just was like, and would never cross my mind that I, a man, could wear makeup. And so I didn't. But then as I was going out to gay bars more, because that was also a thing I was doing a lot at the time, I was like, well, I could wear makeup to gay bars. Like, that would be cute. That'd be a moment. So I think my very first order was actually from elf.com, which was a very different brand back then. And I got like the cheapest shit you could imagine. I like knew that I would be into purple eventually because I got I remember I got like an all purple eyeshadow palette and like purple berry lipstick, and all of that from Elf, and it was like very cheap Elf era. Wasn't very good makeup. Then I found ColourPop because again I was a Kathleen Lights devotee, and back then if you were a Kathleen Lights devotee, you were also a ColourPop devotee. I love the word devotee; it's a good word. And when I ordered from ColourPop, I was like, ooh, this is the stuff I'm into. Because I didn't even do eyeshadow for the first 2 or 3 years I was into makeup because I found it so incredibly difficult to learn. And I was so bad at it and it was so frustrating that I just like could not do it. So I was really into like lipstick and concealer. Like I was a like bold lip. Oh, and highlighter. Oh my god, the powder highlighter. I had this loose highlighter from ColourPop that I actually found when I was home at my parents' recently because I thought I got rid of it, but I guess in between moving at some point, I left a box of old makeup there, and I actually brought it back here and like tried it a couple of times just for old time's sake, but it wasn't something I was gonna really use like a loose highlighter. But I like the most blingy loose highlighter from ColourPop that I loved. And what I would do is I would just like truly like highlighter on my face. Well, I guess first I would put on like a layer of concealer, the highlighter, maybe like a bronzer. I had the contour palette from Wet n Wild. That was one of my favorite products. And honestly, I should try that again because I loved like, I mean, it was like, I think called a contour palette. It was basically the bronzer that was in there. And then I would put on like a purple lipstick and I'd be like, she's ready to go. I wouldn't even wear mascara, wouldn't even really wear powder, blush. No, I hated blush for the first few years I was into makeup. I hated it because it was funny. I was still holding myself back from being like femme while wearing makeup, which you can definitely do. There's like masculine, you know, boy beat, like whatever. Like you can be masculine with makeup, but I don't know, this whole world was so new to me that I was like, well, I'm still a man at the end of the day. So again, wear blush. That would be ridiculous. Oh, little did they know what was coming on down the pipeline. Anyway, so then as time went on, Obviously got more into makeup, finally figured out how to do my eyeshadow. Not even like because of tutorials, because I could never. I know some people are like, I long for the days of tutorials. I don't. I don't think they're interesting. I think they're really boring. I can usually figure it out on my own. Sorry. But who I learned eyeshadow blending from, so you can thank them or curse them, I suppose, but was Sam Ravendall. And I probably should have mentioned that Sam was like one of my favorite early on YouTubers. She was like the one I found where I was like, oh, this is what I want. Like her personality and honestly how sly she was at educating you, because she didn't do, I think early on she did, but when I started watching her, she wasn't doing like bronze, tutorial. Like she was doing trying new makeup or whatever videos, but she would show you how she was applying eyeshadow, and she was so quick and succinct and succinct and she was so quick and succinct while still being really detailed and like close up with what she was doing. And when I watched her, like not only was I like, this is the personality I want in a beauty guru, but I was like, oh my god, like eyeshadow finally makes sense. Like I never understood how people were just like, you just blend it and then you just did it and then you boom, and then they have like a full on like warm smoky eye. Sam actually took the time to be like I don't know, like teach people, and Sam Ravendall is why I know how to blend eyeshadow, and I learned with ColourPop Cosmetics, which is why I'm not going to get into it, but like why I was so disappointed with ColourPop's decision to collab with a dangerous turf. So yeah, a lot of ColourPop, a lot of those influencers I mentioned eventually grew into this. That took a long time to answer. But yeah, that was my entry into beauty and makeup. And then now I'm kind of in this new phase where I know creators, because I myself am a creator. I watch the subscriber count of who I watch on average is a lot less lower than back then, which I think is a good thing. Not that big creators are bad, but just I think smaller creators have a lot to offer personally, and then their position in the beauty world makes their opinions a little bit more compelling, I would say. And yeah, that was my entry. I guess I didn't need to go into all of it, but there you go. If you could only have / use 2 palettes for the rest of your life, what would they be and why? Definitely, I'm just gonna say the first 2 that came to mind. Honestly, vaguely, one of my Pat McGrath palettes came to mind, but neither of my Pat McGrath palettes are like the perfect palette for me. I just really enjoy her eyeshadows. So I would maybe want to try to figure out how to make or like get a perfect Pat McGrath palette for me, because I just have a sentimental place in my heart for Pat McGrath eyeshadows. I know a lot of people are very upset at the brand right now, or just disappointed in the path it's taken. You're allowed to feel that way for sure. I still love my Pat McGrath eyeshadows, so. But I don't have the perfect Pat McGrath palette for me. So if I could only have / use 2, it's actually one I just bought, which is kind of crazy for me because it takes me a really long time to be like, this is good or I enjoy this. But immediately the Viseart neutral mattes, have the petite version, perfect. It just like perfect. Good job, Viseart. Like that is definitely one like a palette I will always want to have in my collection. Just the perfect variety of mattes for me. And I think besides that, I'm going to say the Kaleidos Escape Pod, because it has a couple more like neutral sheer glittery shades, which I'm a sheer glittery person. And it also has like a lavender matte, and I will always need a lavender color matte in my eyeshadow collection. So those are the 2 that come to mind. I would definitely miss my Pat McGrath palettes though. I would definitely miss my Pat McGrath palettes. I would love it if Pat McGrath ever did like a lavender purple eyeshadow palette. And I know there's like some of her palettes have like pops of that in it, but if she ever did like a true lavender lunar seduction whatever. In a similar vein, if you could only pick one product to use out of your whole collection, what would it be? That would be really hard, because like doing a makeup look with one product, I mean, I guess technically I'd be like, this whole New York palette, because it has face steps in it and all that. Face steps? Cheek products. I'm really tired, y'all. I opened today, so I've been up since 4:50 a.m. and it's now 3:24 p.m. I mean, if I'm gonna go with like I'm just wearing one makeup product, oh god, it'd probably be brow gel. But I need 2 products to do my brows. Why am I panicking? This is fake. Honestly, it would be a brow product, actually. Because I was about to say the Glossier Skin Tint, which would be a good pick, I think, because it looks just like you have incredible skin with it on, and you don't need to wear it with other makeup. Like, you can definitely just be wearing the Glossier Skin Tint. But I really don't like to leave my house without brows on. So, probably brow product. How do you get your makeup to stay flawless in the heat and humidity? My secret is that I don't, and I don't care. I don't know. I know some people are very much like, this is how to make your makeup last all day and still look flawless at midnight. Or this is how to not sweat when it's 100 degrees outside. And I'm kind of just like, let nature take its course. Like, if I've been wearing makeup for 9 hours and it looks like I've been wearing makeup for 9 hours, like, yeah, that makes sense. And if somebody's like, whoa, your makeup doesn't look very good, I'd be like, well, I've been wearing it for 9 hours. Also, what a shitty thing to say, friend. What's up with that? Thoughts on consumerism? That's like a big question. I'm hoping to do more about that on my channel, so watch this space. Watch this space is one of my favorite phrases in the human language. Like when people are like, all right, y'all, we finally got a date settled for the picnic. Watch this space to see when. Like, okay. I'll watch the Slack channel for the company picnic. Do more on consumerism. I mean, I'm obviously doing a no-buy right now. I've definitely overconsumed quite a bit in my makeup journey, which maybe I'll get into detail about more in a future video. But I definitely think it's a lot more fun to enjoy makeup when you enjoy it for the usage and the inspiration and the creativity and the community instead of the buying. Because for a lot of my journey, my favorite part about makeup was the actual buying. And I think now my favorite part about makeup is all the good things I listed instead of just the consumer aspect of it. So, yeah, I think those are going to be my thoughts on consumerism for today. But check back tomorrow. Have you ever been sucked into a toxic parasocial relationship with an influencer? No. I have been disappointed in influencers I've followed before. I have let them know very frankly in a comment, not like bullying, but I mean, I'll name names. I still watch. Oh, I don't want to name names because I actually like her. not me being like, we're finally gonna name names. There's an influencer I was really disappointed in recently when she chose not to speak out about an issue I really care about. But I don't really have. That's a whole different thing. And actually, I just got blocked by an influencer for, I think, viewing her Instagram story. Maybe. But toxic parasocial, no. I definitely keep a fine line between, like, if I'm a viewer, I know that I think it's okay for me to critique like a video, or if something somebody said was harmful, I will leave a comment and be like, hey, like, but I'm pretty fair about that. And I know it's like, and I hate to say owed, but I know what to expect or what I think influencers can give to an audience, and I also know where there are the limits and all of that. So I've never been in a toxic like parasocial relationship with an influencer. I'm in like a lot of really great friendships with influencers and creators now, so that's fun. But no, not like a toxic parasocial relationship. What's a makeup product you regret buying? I have a lot of makeup I regret buying. If you haven't watched my last video about my no-buy and also about like this banishment project I'm doing, go watch that. But I feel like it's less about makeup product. Like, there are specific makeup products that I'm like, ugh, why did I buy that? Like, I don't even like that. But it's more like I regret the quantity of makeup I would buy. That's and just the frequency, the quantity and the frequency is what I really regret more so than specific products. Because I think it's good to like buy things when you're early on and learn that you don't like them, because then you have that knowledge. You're like, oh wow, I love the color orange. Actually, I don't love the color orange, but I hate orange eyeshadow on me. I also hate orange eyeshadow on me. The one that is staying on my mind though is I bought a Huda Beauty palette a couple years ago when I was in Sephora. It was the Naughty Nude one, and by golly, I've never hated an eyeshadow palette more. I hate Huda's formulas. I hate them. I think they're bad, and I know some people love them, and that's valid, but my hatred is also valid. Like, what a horrible palette. So I have a lot of animosity toward it for no reason at all. So that's a specific one I regret buying, but again, it's the overconsumption more than the specific products I bought. Last question. It's kind of a bummer, though. Have you experienced... Ending on a positive note, have you experienced any online harassment for your gender identity or expression? That's not funny. It's just like kind of a funny one to end on. No, not really. I've gotten a few stray, very like auto trolls. Like when I posted like my Pride Get Ready with me, there was automatically a comment being like, gay people are so fucking weird. Ew. Which, like, gay people are weird, so, like, tea. But it was just kind of like, okay, this has been posted for a minute. You absolute loser. Like, take a beat. At least act like you watched a minute. But whatever. I've experienced, like, in-person harassment. I've been called a lot of names, and definitely gotten looks. Definitely felt unsafe. IRL. So IRL harassment is more what I'm used to. It's not funny. It's just, you know, if you don't laugh, you cry. Blah, blah, blah. I expect as my channel gets a little bit bigger and more eyes are on me, or I just happen to type in the right keywords in a description box or a title, I'm going to get online harassment. To end on a more positive note, I think, and I'm not to say, obviously harassment is totally real, and I totally understand why people get so bummed out and hurt by it. That is very valid. I think sometimes we forget to see all the good, though, and what I have experienced more than harassment of any kind, online and in person, is like affirmation and support, which I think is great. You know, I've had a lot of people be really lovely and helpful and encouraging in my gender journey and being trans online, who, you know, folks I've met online. I like know more non-binary and trans people than I have before, which is great as I navigate that space. And it just feels... Do I have a hair? I'm trying to make it like a nice point, and I have like a hair in my lip. Now I feel like I need to reapply my lip product. And for what? The last 3 minutes. And that's the same way in person too. You know, sometimes something I did talk about when I first got into makeup is I would be so nervous to shop for makeup in person. Like, I would go to Target and go down whatever aisle, and as soon as like somebody else came into the aisle, I was like, oh, just shopping for my girlfriend. Like, you know, just like acting like I wasn't just looking at like a Revlon lipstick, and like that attracted the attention of the person even more. Like, they were like, you're in the makeup aisle, just look at the makeup. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's been times I'm shopping and people are like, what are they doing in the makeup aisle? But for the most part, like, no one gives a crap. And now I'm kind of experiencing that with shopping for women's clothes, quote unquote. But I remember I was in Target trying to find something to wear to the Eras tour, and I found like a really cute dress and I ended up getting and wearing and loving. And I was walking around with it, and I was walking around in the women's clothing section. I could tell this woman kind of glanced at me, and I'm like, she's gonna say something and cause a scene, and I'm gonna have to leave. Like, oh my god. She turned around and I was like, here it comes. And she was like, that dress looks so cute. Like, you would look incredible in that. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like, that's so nice. And again, I know not everyone's reality is like that. I know where we live is different, all of that, and what we have access to. But more than anything, I've just found people who have that attitude, who are just excited that I care about aesthetics and excited that I wear makeup and all that. So there's some positive notes to end on from that. Maybe from that, you know, not like bummer of a question. I think it's a good question, but that's why I included it. But just, I guess, more serious question. So that's all she wrote. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you, I mean, if you watched, I would think you learned more about me, unless you know me in real life, then you didn't. Give this video a like, helps me a lot in the wild west of the YouTube algorithm. That was something I once had in my scripted YouTube intro. Subscribe if you would like to see more uploads from me. If you have any other questions or you want to comment about anything I said in this video, obviously comment below. I love when y'all comment. It is so interesting to read and engage with y'all. Bye, y'all!